Hi everybody, it's Alex Hughes with Hughes Real Estate. I want to thank you for joining me in my fourth video in my 6-part web series from contract to close. Now I appreciate your patience, and I know we were supposed to get this video out last week, but unfortunately we just couldn't line up with the inspector to get an interview. So he gave me the spark notes of what he's going to be doing at a home inspection. So starting things off with the exterior of the building, he's going to be doing a quick tour around the outside, checking to make sure that any exterior of the building, such as the stucco, the hardy plank, that there's no irregularities and a way for the water to get in. Now getting up to the roof, he's going to be checking and give you kind of a rough estimate of how long is left on the roof and seeing what the wear and tear is like. Now another thing he's going to be looking at when he's up there is how close the trees are to the roof, because it is going to be a road and highway if it's touching. So when he gets inside of the attic, he's going to be looking for water ingress, or a way that water has gotten inside of the attic, and that could be mold or dry mold. He's also going to be looking for rodent droppings, how much insulation in there, and how well it's been properly ventilated. So when he's back into the main part of the house, he'll be taking a look at your windows. He'll be seeing if there's any mold around the corners, and if it's a triple or double pane, he'll be seeing if the seal has been broken, which will be shown by condensation in the panes. He'll also be taking a look at your electrical. Now he'll be doing a tour of all your plugins, seeing if they're active or not, and if it needs a GFI. Now what a GFI is, that stands for ground fault interrupter. So the new building codes in Victoria are within, I think it's about 3 feet of the sink. You need a ground fault interrupter that's going to trip if any water gets in there. Now if it's not there, don't worry, it's a very easy fix. It's about $50 and even I can do it. Now with that electrical look as well, he's going to be taking off the face of the panel and seeing if there's been any corrosion or faulty fuses, and seeing if it's an aluminum, knob and tube, or copper, which is what your insurance companies are going to want. Now with plumbing, of course, he can't be digging up the floorboard, so he's going to make sure and see that everything that he can see is in working order. Now what he'll be doing is he'll be looking at the sinks and at the tubs, making sure that they're sealed and there's no mold. And along with that, he'll also be taking a look at the toilets, making sure that they're not loose, and that seal is there as well. Now a trick that he'll be doing is filling up the sinks and the tubs with water and letting them drain, and making sure that there's no water leaking anywhere or that there's no plugs in the drain. As he's doing this, he's also going to be looking at your walls, your ceilings, and your floors to see if there's been any water issues or just any signs of wear and tear. Now a couple of devices that he uses that are pretty cool is he'll be using a thermal imaging camera, so he'll be looking at your walls and your ceilings for any dark spots. Now a dark spot could be two things. It could be there's water in the wall or there's a lack of insulation. So at least you know what you're walking into without having to tear up the walls. The other device he'll be used is a water moisture meter. And so what that's going to be doing is, especially in a kitchen or a bathroom or where there's more moisture than usual, he'll be running that up against the tiles, the floors, the ceilings, the walls, making sure that there's the accurate moisture reading to make sure no moisture has gotten behind the walls. He also is going to be looking at your appliances, so the stove, fridge, microwave, your washer and dryer, making sure that they're in good working order. Now what we see the most with a washer and dryer is that all the older ones have a rubber hose in the back, and those are at risk of cracking, so they're always going to recommend you update it to a stainless steel braiding. Now if you have a crawl space or a basement, he's going to try to get in and have a look at your foundation. Now homes do settle, so when he's taking a look at the exterior and when he's in the basement, he's going to be looking for cracks, and cracks are common. It's just a matter of how big those cracks are. If they're just cosmetic, you can grind them down, fill them, but they're obviously, if they're pretty big, you'll need to get somebody in there to fix it and make sure no water gets in. Now there's 3 things that I haven't mentioned yet. One of them is a wood burning fireplace, and that's because some inspectors do, but you need a certified wet inspector to come in and make sure that the chimney is still up to code. Another thing we need to look for is oil tanks. Now we used to use oil obviously as a heating with a furnace, but we now switched over to electric or natural gas, but there could be still a presence of oil tanks. So it is my job. I will be making a phone call to the fire department, as they will have records of when they were installed and hopefully when they were removed. Now if some of these records are lacking, now we will get an oil tank scan to make sure that there are no hidden underground tanks. Now the third one that I know I've mentioned a few times, but that's your perimeter drains. So the inspector doesn't look at the actual perimeter drain. He will be looking at the gutters and making sure that it is that it is empty of debris, But you want to get a company out there to scope the perimeter drains and see if they're just clogged or unfortunately if they've collapsed. If they're just clogged, it's a few $100s to flush them out. But if they do collapse, they are about a $15,000 to $20,000, obviously depending on how much work needs to get done. So it can get pretty costly. Now, like I said, this is just a spark notes of what these folks do. And an inspection is very crucial in the home buying process, and we always recommend that you get one. Now, if you're wondering how much this is going to cost you, obviously it's going to be dependent on how big of the home you're looking, or it could be in a condo, but it's going to range anywhere from about $300 to $700. Now, thank you so much for joining me, and if you feel that I've missed anything, please don't hesitate to drop a comment. And if not, thank you so much and have a great day.